Swift has in it, built into it, this value that represents the lack of a value. It's kind of strange, but a lot of programming languages have this. In Swift, it's called nil. Good. I can't write it out. Is this something that Playgrounds did before too?
That's definitely Playground issue.
All right. So this
Nil is nil.
Nil is nil. Nil is nothing, but 0 ain't nothing. Okay. So we have a little bit of a disagreement here with Swift. But it's very hard to talk about a variable that's of a particular type, but also need the ability to say, I want to be able to hold this variable without a value yet. Optionals enable us to do that. The way that you declare an optional is like this. See nil over here. I'm declaring a variable. I'm giving it a type explicitly, string, but I'm putting a question mark after string. This turns it into an optional, which means name can either be a string or nil. Nil is a constant. It's just like true or false. It's a value that's provided to us by Swift. It never changes. Afterwards, I can assign this as well. But if I say name here, I'm just going to get nil. So name is equal to this value nil. I can say name equals nil, and I get true. You see why Swift and us disagree? I can't write nil just straight out. I have to have it in an expression. It's really weird. However, I can assign name to a string. Like this. If I print it, look at that. Optional. Toshi. Optionals are a different type, but it's a type that depends on another type. If that makes sense. I can have an optional string, I can have an optional integer, I can have an optional double, etc., etc. Megan, you're having troubles.
Yeah, it says some Toshi. It doesn't say just Toshi.
Oh, okay. You're
Why
fine.
is that?
You're fine.
Okay.
It'll say some Toshi. Some of you are going to have versions that say some,
Okay.
S-O-M-E, and some of you are going to have it say optional. It's the same thing. Some is stupid. Like it tells you nothing. It's so infuriating sometimes. But the new version will say optional, so apparently that makes sense. I can assign name back to nil if I wanted to. I have no reason that I would want to, but it can show you that I can give it a non-string, but the only non-string I can give it is the value nil. Okay?
So string question mark creates nil.
It gives you the ability to assign nil to that variable. Does that make sense?
Otherwise you can't use it.
That's right. So if I have another variable called species, and I give it string, and I say species equals nil, it won't work. Better not work. It'll give me this error. Cannot assign a value of type nil to value of type string. However, if I give it a question mark, now it works.
What happens to the memory allocation in the back?
Oh yeah, you got me with that one. Yeah.
So
All right.
so I know if it's when it's an optional, memory is not allocated. It's not right. The variable is there, but no memory is allocated. How is?
I think it's allocated because it's of type optional, which is essentially a class that contains another type that you give it explicitly. At least that's what I think it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Because one thing to keep in mind, and I'm sorry Will, if you're going to get to this point, a type string is not the same as a type string optional. Those are two different types. So the memory allocation is still being used. It's just considered a different
space, or something, or it's more like a struct in that sense. It'll keep a flag that's like, is it nil or not? Probably.
And it doesn't even use a flag.
It doesn't even use a flag.
No, it's just considered a totally different type.
Gotcha.
So there is no saving. It's just a type that can at some point be nothingness or something of a specific type. But in Swift it's two different
I
types.
guess so it is allocating memory in both instances.
Right. You're thinking null in other languages.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This
No,
is not
no,
null.
no. It's not null.
Nope.
Milling null.
So is this commonly used for like something that's waiting for user input?
So maybe this is more for asynchronous activities. Is that right? Is
No.
that the most common?
No.
You'll use
You'll
it
use
all
it
the time.
Everywhere.
You'll see when it makes sense.
Okay. So optionals behave really strangely. So one of the strange behaviors is if I take the name Toshi and I try to interpolate it, it's going to complain. Okay. So here's the part where things start to get complicated, and I'm convinced that if I show you the right way, it'll all be okay.
Wait,
So what?
You're gonna skip the wrong way?
I'm gonna skip the wrong way. Yeah, I'm gonna totally skip the wrong way. It's not
I approve.
Okay. Well, I mean, there are a couple of ways we can deal with this. Okay. So, optionals. An optional string is either nil or a type optional string. In order to get to that value when it's assigned to a string, I have to do this operation called unwrapping. I have to tell it I want to get the non-nil value out of that variable. The way that I do that is to use an exclamation mark after the variable. Is it going to do it for me?
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't actually have to use print line. It worked fine.
Yeah, it works fine for you. It's not working for me. Is this the wrong way, Angel? Do this.
Cannot see from that.
It's not even showing me a result.
Yeah, because they got rid of the. No, because in this case you're concatenating a string and a string option. So that's
No,
why
but I've unwrapped it.
Scripting for me.
See, it made sense.
Oh, I assigned it to something.
Ah,
Dang
that
it.
was,
It's wrapped. There.
There we go.
Okay. So the point is that if I use
Hold on. Because then why doesn't it say optional on line 158?
I think because the playground is taking that designation out just for that convenient little display. So these are the problems. So these lines, 160 and 161, are the ones I want you to pay attention to. What I didn't get is why it didn't complain when I tried to unwrap and build up. So in this case, what I'm doing is called unwrapping the optional. So it's an optional. I'm confident in this case that it's been assigned to a string and not nil. So I use an exclamation mark, and that takes the optionalness away from it and just gives me the string. Yes.
now is that just for that line, or is name after
No, it's
unwrapped?
That's right. It's just for that line. It's actually just for that expression. Name exclamation.
So later on you can assign it again.
Oh, I think I crashed.
Did you?
Yeah, it looks like it crashed. So 158 should still say optional though.
Should. All right. So I've crashed. it's worth just waiting if I should. Awesome. Gotta love it. I should think I saved it. Okay, screw it.
Just copy and paste the code in Slack.
You did?
I said I'll just do it right now.
Yeah, it's all right. I just want to go over optionals. So okay. So in this case, I have an optional called name. I'm going to assign it to Toshi. See, that's the one that's not showing optional, right? But if I print, it will say optional.
In your other example, you have you have variable name, so it's okay if we use
It's a
either.
variable.
That also is
I'm sorry.
I said that also is new. So we
Being
tested
able to
we tested
assign a-
right, we tested the assigning of an optional string afterwards,
Yeah.
and it did not work. And it seems to be working now. So.
It's really strange. Okay. So in this case, I wonder if it's because I'm doing bad stuff. It's crashing. Okay. So in this case, I have a string. You can imagine this notion of optional wrapping the type of the thing that you're talking about. So its values can either be a string or nil, but when I unwrap it, it can only be a string. Does that make sense? So the optional can be nil or a string, but when I unwrap it, I'm just looking at the string. Therefore, if the value is nil, the unwrapping doesn't work, because I don't have a string to unwrap to. So in that case, if I start doing something like this, is this going to fail? Or did they change it?
No, it's better for you. Can you print line 14 instead of
This is what happens when you try to teach beta software.
wow, really?
Dude, if that is changed, then the whole universe is just like imploding.
Alright. So let's just take your word for it then for now.
Just take my word for it.
Since it's not showing.
Well, you know what we can do is we can do this. We can go ahead and show you this syntax. Okay, so the fundamental problem is if I'm dealing with an optional, I don't know whether it's nil or not. So the way that I can do that is use this syntax here, if let. So what happens when I have an optional name and I try to unwrap it? It's going to give me an error. It should give me an error if that value is nil. But this syntax enables me to check whether it's unwrappable or not. So what happens here is it's going to take name and check to see whether it's nil or not. And then it's going to, if it's unwrappable, if it's a string, it's going to assign that value to underscore name right here. And then it will execute this block of code. So it's actually doing a couple of things. If it is not nil, unwrap the value, assign it to this variable, make that variable available in that first clause, then execute the clause.
The underscore is not name?
No. I'll explain the underscore here in a second. So you'll notice I have this variable underscore name here. That's my personal convention, by the way. Variables can contain underscores just like they can contain any letter. This is a convention from Python for creating private variables, for indicating to the reader that I'm considering that variable private. There's a cognitive burden when you're using this syntax for trying to figure out what variable name you want to use for the unwrapped value. I do this because I don't want to think about it ever. So I just say underscore and then the value and then the variable name. So let underscore name equals name. Underscore name, underscore is like any other letter. So I just use underscore name inside this clause. I don't have to think about it ever again. The underscore has no semantic value. It's not a parameter. I'm sorry, it's not an operator. It's not a special character. It's nothing. It's just like another letter. So when you see my code, I'm going to write it like this. You can do the same thing. You don't have to. But the point is, here's the behavior that we expect. If I set name to nil, the other clause gets executed. If I set name to Toshi, the first clause gets executed.
And that's because name equals something.
That's right. If name equals something, the first clause gets executed. If name equals nil, which ain't null, by the way, the second clause gets executed. Something, nil. Something. Okay? This is a syntax that's very particular to Swift. This isn't found anywhere else. At least in most modern and most common languages.
So this wouldn't really have any functional value to necessarily the functionality of your code, but it's you trying to figure out whether, like, the value of an optional, or figure
That's
out
right.
what's in the optional.
Yeah, you're trying to give it two different code paths. You're trying to say, if I haven't received what this value is yet, do all this stuff. Like, for example, print a message on the iPhone that says, I don't know your name yet. Otherwise, print the name.
So we could be using that quite a bit right there.
Yeah. Use it all the time.
Yeah.
But you make it to something other than nil. Like, okay.
As a student who took this course, I will tell you that those few lines are the absolute most important thing you'll get out of programming in Swift. Arguably even more important than loops.
Then loops.
Because you'll come across this so many times, and 90% of the crashes that happen are a result of not properly implementing those lines of code.
It took me forever to figure that out when I first started using Swift, like programming in Swift. Forever meaning like weeks on it. So I was just checking manually and it was not working.
Can I add one more thing?
Absolutely.
So just keep in mind, inside of this statement, the type of name is an actual string, not an optional string. There we go. So you'll notice that it says it's a string, not some string. Keep that in mind as well, so that this is just the unwrapped type of whatever this optional type is. And it's really important to keep that in mind and come across situations as to why.
Super important point. So this is see how this says optional Toshi? This strips away the optionalness out of it. So name will just be a variable. Actually, it's not a variable. What is it? Nope. Underscore name. What is it? Any guesses? Sorry? Nope.
Constant.
It's a constant. Why do you say constant?
What?
Because we use that. There's no if bar, I don't think. But it is there.
We tried, it doesn't work.
So can I ask one more question? So why are you not using an exclamation point on the right side of when you're assigning the
If I'm
value?
assigning.
Yeah, what
Okay. Because the exclamation mark only works if I know that there's that it's a string. And in this case, the only reason why I would use this syntax is because if there was any doubt in my mind that name were a string, assigned to string. If there were no doubt, I would use an exclamation mark and be on my merry way. But if I don't know, if there's some probability that's non-zero, then I have to use this.
Okay.
And we were trying to, before we were trying to show an error in a situation where you try to do that. In Playground is acting a little different, but in your actual, in actual Xcode, in Swift, in your view controllers, if you were to unwrap a nil value, your whole thing crashes.
Yeah.
We were trying to show that here, but it's a little, got a little smarter. But if you were to do that in your actual interface builder, the application would just crash right then and there. Whenever you try to unwrap a nil value.
That's right. Whole app crashes. It just stops. It's like all the other stuff that you've done doesn't mean anything to it anymore.
When you say crash, it's not like all the code is like erased. It just doesn't.
No,
Right.
no, thank God.
Yeah.
It's not like your iPhone. You know, in your iPhone, you have an application and
Yeah.
automatically it just closes, and you're like, what the hell?
But if you go in and like fix whatever made it crash,
Right.
like, it could just be like one small line, and then it runs properly.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you're working 5 hours on something and you have a couple hundred lines, you might not know which of those lines.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So those are optionals. It'll be more apparent how optionals work once we get some context around them, which is going to be more apparent when we start diving into more interface code. Okay. It is 9:15. And so what I think we're going to do, we're not going to get, I'm crashing again. So we're not going to get to functions in a meaningful way. I feel like you're saturated. At least some of you that have not coded before, saturated. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the in-class activity from last class. So the thing that we tried to start and that I modified at the last second. Oh, drat. You know what? I've crashed. Hold on just a minute. I wish there were a way that we could all send bug reports, like, whenever this happens.
You are sending over.
Like, do I have it? I have it set up.
That's the beta that's
automatic.
automatic.
Oh, it's automatic.
Oh, no.
Nice.
So it'll do it only on crash.
On crash.
So, like, technically you haven't crashed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. So we should each have a personal red button. It's like send a report to Apple. This is kind of ridiculous. So I think part of the reason why it's so crazy is it's actually running a compiler in the background, and sometimes it runs into states where I think the compiler just trips over itself in some ways, and of course the user suffers. Okay. So remember this. You actually have been exposed to all the material so that you can actually get this done. So I want you to give it a shot again and do this over the weekend and come back on Tuesday with this. The next assignment that is an official assignment has tons of UI code in it. It's actually like after we talk about how UI code merges or interface builder rather merges with UI code. We have 2 lessons yet to actually get to that point where we know enough to start tackling user interface code. You need to go over functions and you need to go over classes and objects. And those are actually like full lessons worth. So we're going to be a bit behind. But we have a bunch of padding at the end of the course. So I don't want you to worry about not getting through it. I think you're going to have a super thorough understanding, which is far more important than the pacing. Remember, there's like 3 weeks of labs, of like in-class lab time at the end of the course, built in purposefully for this very scenario. So why don't we? So create 2 variables, print try it for now. Try on your own these first 3 again. So this is the in-class activity from lesson 3 from last week, not the one from this week on functions. So I'll pull these around. So try these, and Angel's going to post the exit tickets, the exit ticket link. And so what I want is to make sure that all of you can create variables, know what string interpolation is like, and can write the if statements that are necessary for the first ones. And then give you the opportunity to ask questions about anything at all that we've gone over up until this point. Or memory allocation. But Angel's better at that than I am.
No,
That's okay. Okay? So we got through these. Didn't get rid of these. Just for next time. If you're over if statements, totally over it, try the loop one on line 14. That's probably actually more important to tackle as well as line 14 because it's definitely, loops are definitely tricky.
When we finish this, do you want it in assessment submissions?
No, it's not really an assessment. You should put it in the exercises lesson 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which line?
So here. So just copy it out of lesson 3, the in-class activity. Take that and copy it into exercises lesson 4. I know it's confusing, but I think we'll make it.
On the homework for tonight, we submit that on through like the assignments, submissions, or whatever.
Yeah, for the actual assignment that was assigned last Tuesday, put it into assessments, submissions. And you should label it one. Exercises lesson 4. Copy it out of lessons lesson 3. And that should be a copy paste. Don't move it. Copy and paste it. Sorry. Oh, the login? Yeah, in submissions. So create a folder. Just create a folder. Re-zero one and copy it. So get this in there onto your
Week 3, right?
2, right? I think it's 200 index.
Right.
Oh, that's right.
It's on the front page of the Git. If you look at the Git repository. So, you look. Yeah.
What is the name of the simulator, the bar that has a simulator? Is it? Is it the bar?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, this is broken. This is like the. You can actually break out.
Make sure you fill out the.
You can break out
Just
different editors. Yeah. interface